Hey, Dallas Bible Church, happy Thursday. It's great to be with you again this evening. My name is Brian Radabaugh, and I'm so excited just to be sharing another marriage moment with you this Thursday evening. Hey, welcome to summer. The heat is starting to rise around here, and hope you're finishing up school well with your kiddos and getting ready for this exciting summer. We miss you. We hope to see you soon. We really look forward to that. We're praying for you. Hope you're well. Hope you're healthy. But tonight I want to talk to you for a few minutes about this idea of understanding your spouse. Okay? And the big idea here this evening is this. Seek to understand rather than be understood. Okay, I want you to think about that for a second. The definition of the word understand is this: to be thoroughly familiar with, apprehend clearly the character and the nature or the subtleties of, and then you fill in the blank. So what do you think is important about understanding your spouse? That's a great question that I'm sure you're just on the edge of your seat right now wanting to ask. Well, here's the answer to that. Practicing everything that we've been talking about up to this point in our marriage moments. I hope you're exercising some of the things that we've been discussing on Thursday evenings with you. When I was dating Jennifer a long time ago, we would write each other letters. And much of our dating relationship, which was the better part of 4+ years, was long distance. And so, we would have these letters, and I'm not going to tell you some of the ushy-gushy stuff that were in those letters, but we would write these letters all the time to each other. And my purpose in writing Jennifer those letters was to become thoroughly familiar with her, to apprehend clearly her character, and to gain an understanding of her nature and who she was. You see, there was this strong desire to understand her, and likewise there was a strong desire for her to understand me and who I was and what I was about. And I think that's every couple's desire when they're dating, is to understand who it is that they're dating. And so you do what you need to do to build that understanding and gain that understanding during those courtship weeks or months or years. And so the question is, does that desire still exist after being married for 27 years to Jennifer? Is my desire still to understand her? Why or why not? Or to seek to be understood? You see, if I don't desire to know and understand Jennifer, then I believe it's because maybe I'm getting lazy in my marriage. Listen, marriage takes a lot of work. It does. It takes a lot of work, friends. There's an expectation in some people's mind that, hey, I'll go to church, I'll participate in a small group, or I'll go through Re-Engage or some other marriage ministry, and you know what? Everything will be okay. We'll be okay. Those are great tools. But listen, every day is the first day of working on understanding your spouse. And guess what? You'll never fully understand each other because we're so different. That's how God has wired us. God has wired my spouse so unique and so delicate that my mind will never be able to grasp fully the complexity of the creation of Jennifer. The same with your spouse. And so as Jennifer and I would exchange these letters and spend hours on the phone, by the way, you remember those days, falling asleep on the phone and you wake up, maybe there's some drool and all that stuff. The goal was to become closer, to strengthen our relationship. So why would that stop? Laziness. We get lazy in our marriage. And our differences, guys, should drive us to each other and not away from each other. Because remember, the differences are from God. Now, hear me say that doesn't mean that you go and start blaming God for all of the issues, okay? Those differences are unique, and we have to accept those differences and work at our marriages. You know, in 1 Peter chapter 3, there's a great truth that says this: husbands, live with your wives in an understanding, there's that word, understanding way, showing honor to the woman as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you in the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered. Okay, note, weaker vessel in that verse does not mean lesser value or lesser worth. Okay? You see this, there's a strong correlation between how you understand or don't understand your spouse and your spiritual maturity. Husbands, there's a chance your prayers may be being hindered because you're not living with your wife in an understanding way. Hello, guys. This is serious stuff. If you're wondering why your prayers aren't being answered, maybe, guys, we need to evaluate our efforts in how we are seeking to understand our spouses. Okay, so the implication is that you cannot separate your relationship with God and your relationship with your spouse. You can't separate those. Because as your walk with the Lord goes, so goes your relationship with your spouse. You see, everything that is going on in my vertical relationship with God will affect everything on my horizontal relationship, especially with my spouse. So, guys, study and celebrate your spouse. This requires great intentionality in dating one another. Okay, Brian, we're in this shelter-in-place, this quarantine time. Hey, listen, get creative. You can still date one another. Set up a table in the backyard or in the front yard or on the deck or in whatever. Figure it out. Date one another. Pursue one another. Take time to communicate with one another. Pray with one another and pray for one another. And so it takes great intentionality. Now, in closing, by becoming a student of your spouse, and when you live with your spouse in an understanding way, then you can do three things well. One, you can serve your spouse by selflessly putting their desires before yours. Two, you can celebrate the uniqueness of the way that God has designed your spouse. And three, you can enjoy the gift that your spouse is to you in your marriage and in your relationship with Christ. Now that's something to think about as you process and ponder this idea of seeking to understand rather than to be understood. We're praying for you, we're for you, and we love you, and we'll see you soon. God bless.